Good morning. I'm here with Kitty Girl as we are in the Phantom Tollbooth, and King Azaz is sad, and the humbug is giving him advice and describing how to return or to retrieve the Princess of Rhyme and the Princess of Reason. A simple task, began the humbug, suddenly wishing he were somewhere else, for a brave lad with a stout heart, a steadfast dog, and a serviceable small automobile. Go on, commanded the king. Yes, please, seconded Milo. All that he would have to do, continued the worried bug, is travel through miles of harrowing and hazardous countryside, into unknown valleys and uncharted forests, past yawning chasms and trackless waste until he reached Digitopolis. If you, of course, ever reached there, then he would have to persuade the mathematician to agree to release the little princesses, and of course he'd never agree to anything that you agreed with, and anyways, if he did, you certainly wouldn't agree to it. From there, it's a simple matter of entering the mountains of ignorance, full of perilous pitfalls and ominous overtones, a land to which many venture but few return, and whose evil demons slither slowly from peak to peak in search of prey. Then an effortless climb up a 2,000-step circular stairway without railings, in high wind at night, for in those mountains it is always nice, into the castle in the air. He paused for breath, then began momentarily for breath, then he began again. After a pleasant chat with the princesses, all that remains is a leisurely ride back through those chaotic crags whose frightening fiends have sworn to tear any intruder limb from limb and devour him down to his belt buckle. And finally, after the long ride back, a triumphal parade, if of course there is anything left to parade, followed by hot chocolate cookies for everyone. The humbug bowed low and sat down once again, very pleased with himself. I never realized it would be so simple, said the king, stroking his beard and smiling broadly. Quite simple indeed, concurred the bug. It sounds dangerous to me, said Milo. Most dangerous, mumbled the humbug, still trying to be in agreement with everybody. Who will make the journey? Asked Tok, who had been listening very carefully to the humbug's description. A very good question, replied the king, but there is one far more serious problem. What is that? Asked Milo, who was rather unhappy at the turn the conversation has taken. I'm afraid I can tell you that only when you return, replied the king, clapping his hands 3 times. Oh, it seems he decided. As he did so, the waiters rushed back into the room and cleared away the dishes, the silver, the tablecloth, and the table, the chairs, the banquet hall, and the palace, leaving them all suddenly standing in the marketplace. Of course you realize that I would like to make the trip myself, continued Azaz, striding across the square as if nothing had happened, but since it was your idea, you shall have all the honor and fame. But you see, began Milo, Dictionopolis will always be grateful, my boy, interrupted the king, throwing one arm around Milo and patting Tok with the other. You will face many dangers on your journey, but fear not, for I have brought you this for your protection. He drew from inside his cape a small heavy box about the size of a school book and handed it ceremoniously to Milo. In this box are all the words I know, he said. Most of them you will never need. Some you will use constantly, but with them you may ask all the questions which have ever been answered and answer all the questions which have never been asked. All the great books of the past and all the ones yet to come are made with these words. With them there is no obstacle you cannot overcome. All you must learn to do is use them well and in the right places. Milo accepted the gift with thanks, and the little group walked to the car still parked at the edge of the square. You will, of course, need a guide, said the king, and since he knows the obstacles so well, the humbug has cheerfully volunteered to accompany you. Now see here, cried the startled bug, for that was the last thing in the world he wanted to do. You will find him dependable, brave, resourceful, and loyal, continued Azaz, and the humbug was so overcome by the flattery that he quite forgot to object again. I'm sure he will be a great help, cried Milo as they drove across the square. I hope so, thought Talk to himself, for he was far less sure. Good luck, and do be careful, shouted the king, and down the road they went. Milo and Talk wondered what strange adventures lay ahead. The humbug speculated on how he'd ever become involved in such a hazardous undertaking, and the crowd waved cheerful and cheered wildly, for that while they didn't care at all about anyone arriving, they were always very pleased to see someone go. So he suddenly found himself being volunteered to go rescue Rhyme and Reason. And next time we'll be at chapter 9, and we'll see how the adventure begins or continues.